In this tutorial, I'd like to show you how to make a dynamic block for these windows so that you can select a window. And if you'd like to make it a bit longer, you can go ahead and just click on the grip here and start taking it across and let it increase by whatever increment you set it to. And you can see on mine, I have it set to every 4 inches. And then when I release or I click again, I've now made that window much bigger. Same thing with the double window up here. I can select it and then I can easily make it bigger. And you'll notice that as I change the size there, my division continues to stay in the middle. So I want to show you how that is all done. I'm going to tap the escape key here and I'll go to the windows and get that started. I'd like to make a block. So I'll start first by typing B, enter. And I'll just call this one window and I'll call it single. And then I will pick my start point, base point, which is here for now. And then select my objects and enter. That's all I have to do. And then I go ahead and click OK. I just have the habit of not going straight into the block editor. I just click OK because I want to make sure that when I hover over it, I have one window. And well, I have a block of the window. So once that's all done, now I can go ahead and select it by choice. That's how I do it. And then go into block editor. All right, so in block editor here, let me take my block authoring palette, move it over here to the side, zoom out. All right, so that window, what I'd like to do is I'd like to add a linear parameter first. So I'm going to click on linear. And it wants me to specify the start point of this linear parameter. So I'm going to click right here. And then I'll click this endpoint over there and put the dimension down here. And it tells me that's distance number 1. So that's all set. I have a linear parameter. Nothing can happen yet because I need to add an action. So I'm going to click on Actions. And I would like to add a stretch action to this linear parameter. So I click on Stretch. I'm prompted to select the parameter. I pick the distance parameter. And then I'm prompted to specify parameter point to associate with the action or enter start point and then a second point. So the point that I'd like to specify is this point right here. And I have my object snaps turned on. Endpoint is one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and click. Next, I'm prompted to specify first corner of stretch frame. So remember, first corner has to be a crossing polygon. And I know in this instance, I'm not going to type C. I know that I'm going to click here and then take it over in this direction and then click. That's my crossing. Now it says to select objects that you're going to then use. And what I like to do is repeat that crossing action from this corner to this corner like this. And it includes the distance parameter. And I click. And then I can enter. I will now test the block. I click on Test Block. I come over here. I select it. There's my stretch. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag. And you can see how it is working. Very nice. And right now I'm just testing, and it doesn't matter what length I set it to, but I do want to give it an exact length. It's important because windows come in specific sizes. So I want to show you how to do that. I'll go ahead and close the test block. So let me tap the escape key and pick distance. And then look at the properties on that one. So distance type, I want that to be incremental. And then the distance increment, set it to whatever distance you want. I'm picking 4. And I pick 4 because I know that if I'm going to put a window in a brick opening, it has to line up with my brick module, and that's 4 inches. So I type 4, and then distance minimum. I don't want my window to be any smaller then 2 feet. So I'm going to type in 2 feet. And then for distance maximum, I don't want my window, single window opening here, to be any wider than, so let's say 5 feet. So I'll type 5 feet and enter. And if 5 feet is too much, maybe I change that back to 4 feet. So I'll do that instead. And then enter. So that's all done. Move away from that properties window. It collapses. I can now close the block editor. Save the changes, yes. I could have tested. I didn't. That's all right. And now I come over here. I select the window and I pick the distance. And as soon as I click on it, you'll see there are my increments. And it will snap to those increments. So I can make it 4 feet wide, or I can bring it back and make it 2 feet, or anywhere in between, increments of 4 inches. I want to do the same thing up here with this window. So here I go. Type in B, enter. The name, yes, I want it to be window, but I want it to be window double. So I type window double. And then I will pick the point, and I'll pick this endpoint right here. And I do want to convert to block. I will now select my objects, enter. Behavior is all set. And then I will go ahead and click OK. Is it a block? If I hover over it, yes, it is a block. I'll go ahead and select or click on it, and then right click and block editor. So it's the same thing that I did with the previous one. I need to go into my parameters and I need to add a linear parameter. And I start at this point. I take it across to this point and bring it down right there. Okay. Next, add the action, and this is going to be a stretch action. So stretch, select the parameter. I pick the distance parameter. Specify parameter point to associate with the action. I want this point here. I'm asked to specify first corner of stretch frame. So I'm going right to left. Done. And then it says select objects. I'm going to use a crossing window also, like I did the last time, and click. And then enter. I'll test it. So I'll go over to test block. Click on my window and see if it's working. And it is, but you'll notice that it's not moving this center piece. And if I bring it over this way, the lines stay where they are. I'm halfway there, but it's working the way I need it to right now. I will go ahead and close the test block. And let's see, from here, can I actually pick the distance and then go to the properties? Yes, I have to. So the distance type has to be increment. Distance increment, I want to go for inches. Distance minimum. So the distance minimum here, I guess if I have a window, single window that's 2 feet wide, I could go 4 feet on this because it's a double, so I'll go 4 feet. And then the maximum distance, I don't want this to be any wider than, let's say, 8 feet. And these are personal choices. You can set it to anything that you want, and then I'll enter. And then I'll go ahead and close the block editor. Save the changes, yes. And now when I test it, the increments are there. So that's good. So I can make it smaller like that, or I can make it wider like that. The divisions here are still not moving, so I need to fix that. So I'm going to right click and go to block editor. And what I need to do is add another stretch option or another stretch action. So I click on stretch and select the parameter. I'm going to pick the same parameter that I selected before, distance. And then it says specify parameter point to associate with action or enter. So parameter point that I would like to associate, I believe, is still going to be this point. Specify first corner of stretch frame, crossing polygon, right to left, right here. And then it says select objects. I'm going to select the objects right here like this. And to save you a little bit of a hassle, because these dynamic blocks can be a bit of a challenge, I need you to hold down the Shift key right now and pick this line and pick this line. What you're doing is you are deselecting them from the selection set. And then go ahead and enter. And then I will close the block editor. I'll show you what's going to happen. I do want to save the changes. And now if I stretch, what's happening is it's stretching, but it's really doing it in an odd kind of way. That's because I need to do one more thing here. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to block editor. And let's see, I have my initial distance stretch here. And then this one is the new stretch. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to come over to the properties. And there's a distance multiplier. And instead of stretching at a scale or a ratio of 1 to 1, I'm going to set this to 0.5 and enter. So whatever distance I have here, this will be half of that distance. Sorry, I moved away from the properties, and I'll show you again. So there we go, distance multiplier. That's all I'm changing. Hover away, tap the escape key, close the block editor. You could test, but I'm going to close. Save the changes, yes. And now when I go to stretch it, I click here. And now you see that's as small as it's going to be, 4 feet. And now if I look at the distance, let's see, measure. 1'9", 1'9". Okay, tap the escape key. Select it. Click on the distance and bring it out to any distance that you want like that. Measure again, the distance here, 3'1", 3'1". So it is stretching as required, which is half the distance. So that's a really nice way of creating that dynamic block. I'm going to select my block. I'm going to right click it, go to block editor. I'm going to click on base point and again just hover from this point over, hover from this point down, give that the base point. Take this distance or this linear parameter and actually move it. So it's selected, I type M, enter, and I was able to move it, and I'll just pick this endpoint and then I'll pick this endpoint here so that it aligned with that base point. And when I did that, I'll tap the escape key, I'll close out, save the changes, and that seemed to work because now I have my base point here, and then I can drag or stretch my block this way. So I'll do that. I'll do the same thing over here with this block. I'll select it. I will right click it, go to block editor. And this time I'll move the distance first. So I'll select it and type M, enter. And I'll take it from this midpoint up to, I'm sorry, endpoint, that endpoint, up to this endpoint here. Done. And if you want, you can take that distance, and I believe I can drag this down. Sure, like that, just so it's out of the way. And then I can go to, I can now select my base point. And I want to put a base point right there. So I'm going to hover right here over this endpoint, move it over, hover over this endpoint, bring it down. It's tracking both of them. It finds the intersection here. I click. I'm all set. Close the block editor. Save the changes. And then when I go to my window, I can now bring it across, and then I can move it from that point like that. So that's nice. Thank you very much.